way, a place of soft accents and strange manners. The journey by sea is long and salty. His boots are too big. The French children laugh at his Corsican name and Corsican voice. But Napoleon doesn't flinch. He learns, he reads, he listens. At Brienne Military Academy, surrounded by snow and silence, he becomes a solitary student. He studies mathematics, history, and artillery, the language of cannons and angles. He doesn't have many friends. He misses home. He writes letters to his mother. But something is building inside him, something solid and sharp, like stone being carved into a sword. At 15 years old, he becomes a soldier, a second lieutenant in the French army, still a boy in many ways, but already so serious. He walks with purpose, speaks with precision. The other officers notice him, but the world around him is beginning to tremble. It is 1789. In Paris, the people rise. The Bastille falls. The king trembles in his palace. The French Revolution has begun. Napoleon watches from the shadows. Others are afraid, but he sees something else in the chaos. Opportunity. He returns briefly to Corsica, dreaming of leading his island to independence. But the politics are messy, and soon he finds himself on the wrong side of an old family friend. He and his loved ones are forced to flee. Now fully committed to France, he begins the journey that will shape the world.
One day, in 1793, the city of Toulon falls into rebellion. The British take the port. The revolution needs heroes, and Napoleon is there to answer. Still just in his 20s, he takes command of the artillery. His ideas are bold and clear.
He places his cannons where no one else would. He fires at the enemy with unrelenting accuracy. And it works. The British retreat. Toulon falls back into French hands, and Napoleon is no longer just a name. He is promoted. He is noticed. He is rising, like a silent storm over calm water. He doesn't smile much. He doesn't boast. But behind those quiet eyes, the dream continues to grow. France is wounded and wild. Its leaders are uncertain. The revolution, once bright, is now dangerous. Heads roll beneath guillotines. But Napoleon walks carefully through the storm. He watches. He waits. He prepares. And as the stars shine quietly over Corsica, somewhere deep inside, he knows his time will come. Now, drift to year 1796. Napoleon Bonaparte is now 26 years old. He's no longer just a clever soldier or a rising officer. He's a general, young, thin, pale from long nights and heavy thoughts. But when he speaks, men listen. And when he leads, they follow. France is still in chaos. Enemies circle from all sides. Austria, Prussia, Britain. Yet Napoleon has given a broken, tired army and sent to Italy. The soldiers there are hungry. Many don't have boots. Morale is low. But then comes this strange, soft-spoken commander. He stands before them, small, serious, but filled with energy, like a flame that cannot be put out. Soldiers, he says quietly, you are hungry and poor. But beyond these mountains lies the richest land in the world. Follow me, and I will lead you to glory. And they do. The Italian campaign becomes something no one expects. Napoleon moves fast, faster than anyone has ever seen. He knows the land, studies the roads, uses the mountains like stepping stones. He splits enemy armies apart, strikes them before they can react, then vanishes into the hills like a shadow. One by one, the Austrians fall. At Montenotte, Lodi, Arcole, Rivoli, he wins. Again and again. Each time his soldiers grow more loyal. They begin to whisper his name, not with fear, but pride. Bonaparte. His name rolls through France like soft thunder. But Napoleon is more than a fighter. In every town he passes, he speaks of new ideas, liberty, equality. He shakes hands with poets. He writes letters to artists. He speaks gently to farmers. He creates republics where kings once weed. Some believe him, others fear him. But all must admit, this young man from Corsica is changing everything. In his tent at night, he writes letters. Long, soft ones, to Josephine, the woman he's just married. He calls her my waking dream, even though she's far away in Paris. He writes her every day, even while marching through muddy fields, or standing beneath falling snow. He is both sword and soul. By the end of the campaign, Austria begs for peace. Napoleon, at just 28 years old, redraws borders, reshapes governments, and walks away as one of the most powerful people in Europe. Yet he still signs letters with the simple name, Bonaparte. Back in France, crowds cheer for him. Children play Napoleon in the streets. Shopkeepers sell tiny statues of him. The newspapers print his victories like bedtime stories. He is a star, brilliant and mysterious. But not everyone is pleased. The politicians in Paris watch him carefully. They smile in public, but behind closed doors, they whisper. He's too popular, too strong, too clever. And perhaps they're right. But Napoleon does not slow down. He begins to dream again. Only now, his dreams are bigger than ever before. He doesn't just want victory, he wants legacy. He turns his gaze east, to the land of pharaohs and pyramids, to a place called Egypt, the Egyptian campaign. The stars above the Mediterranean shimmer like golden dust and velvet skies. The sea is calm. A fleet sails eastward, quiet but powerful. On board, Napoleon Bonaparte, his soldiers, and his dreams. It is 1798, and he is only 29. But this is not just a war. This is a journey, a voyage, a legend in the making. Napoleon dreams of Egypt, not for conquest alone, but for history, for knowledge, for mystery. He brings with him not just cannons and uniforms, but scholars, scientists, artists. He dreams of discovering secrets buried in sand. When they land, the heat kisses the earth in golden waves. The soldiers march toward the pyramids, tall, silent giants that have watched over the desert for thousands of years. Napoleon turns to his men. From the heights of these pyramids, he says softly, 40 centuries look down upon you. And they do. At the Battle of the Pyramids, Napoleon defeats the mighty Mamluks, warriors on horseback who have ruled the desert for ages. His soldiers form tight, square formations. The air smells of sand and gunpowder. By sunset, the French have won. But far across the waves, danger stirs. The British Navy, led by the brilliant Admiral Nelson, finds Napoleon's ships in Abuka Bay. In a great battle, beneath the stars, the French fleet is destroyed. Napoleon is stranded in Egypt. Still, he marches on. He explores the desert, travels to the edge of Syria, dreams of Eastern empires. But illness spreads. The heat is unforgiving. At the walls of Acre, his forces suffer their first real failure. His dream of building an empire in the East begins to fade.
The coup of 18 Brumaire. Back in France, the streets feel tense. The air is thick with whispers. The Directory, the government of the revolution, is broken, full of greed and fear. But Napoleon walks calmly. His footsteps echo in long hallways. His coat flutters in the breeze. He smiles only slightly. He is not here to beg. He is here to lead. In 1799, on a chilly morning in November, Napoleon stages a peaceful coup. It is called the coup of 18 Brumaire, after the name of the revolutionary calendar. He surrounds the chambers with soldiers. He enters with quiet confidence, and without a shot fired, the old government falls. Just like that. A new system is formed, the consulate. 3 men lead France, but only one truly holds power. Napoleon becomes first consul. He sleeps little, works constantly, writes laws, plans cities, fixes roads, rebuilds schools. His mind never rests. He brings order to chaos, and people love him for it. Children cheer when they hear his name. Artists paint him on white horses. Poets write verses about his calm eyes and iron will. He brings peace, if only for a moment, to a country that has known nothing but storms. But he does not forget the battlefield. In 1800, he marches across the Alps, cloaked in snow and silence. His army follows, step by careful step. At Marengo, he defeats Austria again, like a ghost returning to finish an old song. By the time he returns to Paris, Napoleon is more than a man. He is a legend.
Now the air in Paris feels different. People walk with purpose. Children hold wooden swords and call themselves Bonaparte. France, once wild and uncertain, now feels strong, focused. The year is 1804, and Napoleon stands in a great cathedral, dressed in robes of deep red and shining gold. The Pope is there, ready to crown him as emperor, but Napoleon takes the crown in his own hands and places it on his own head. The message is clear. He bows to no one. He is now Emperor of the French. Not a king born of bloodlines, but a ruler born of will, of vision, of discipline. He builds a new court full of scholars and generals. He creates the Napoleonic Code, a new legal system that brings fairness, logic, and clarity to the people. Even today, parts of this code shape laws around the world. He builds roads that stretch like ribbons across the land. He fills museums with art. He names cities and rivers after victories, and France feels alive again. But the rest of Europe grows nervous. Kings and emperors whisper in candlelit rooms. They see Napoleon's power, his calm eyes, and they grow afraid. So they gather armies. They form coalitions. They try to stop him, but Napoleon is ready. From the forests of Germany to the fields of Austria, his army marches like a quiet storm. At Austerlitz, in 1805, he fights one of his most brilliant battles, facing both the Austrians and the Russians. As the morning fog lifts, Napoleon sees his moment. He strikes, fast and precise. By sunset, but the world grows still. Let your breath slow, in and out, and imagine soft hoofbeats over frozen ground. The year is 1812. Napoleon is at the height of his power. He rules over more of Europe than any man in centuries. France stretches far and wide. Kingdoms rise under his name. His brothers and generals sit on foreign thrones. People call him the master of Europe. But peace does not last forever. Far to the east lies a vast, icy land, Russia, and its ruler, Tsar Alexander I, begins to drift away from Napoleon's alliances. Napoleon believes that to keep his empire strong, he must act first. And so, he gathers an army of nearly 600,000 men, soldiers from France, Italy, Germany, Poland, the largest force the world has ever seen. They begin to march. At first, the land is green and still, but as they push deeper into Russia, the forests thicken, the rivers darken, and the roads grow colder. The Russians fall back, retreating slowly, always just out of reach. They leave nothing behind. Burning their towns, the Russians reappear for the world, but they cannot wait to run their land. The fire is the summer break, the red stars. In September, they reach Moscow, a city empty and quiet. The buildings whisper secrets in the wind, and then the city burns. Fires tear through the wooden streets. It is a trap, a message. Russia will not surrender. Napoleon waits. Days pass, then weeks, but no peace comes. The cold tightens like a fist. He must retreat. As winter descends, the Russians are colored into the ground. Back in Paris, people wait and wonder. Napoleon returns quietly, like a shadow. His coat is worn, his face is tired, but his eyes still hold fire. Enemies begin to rise again. The British, the Austrians, the Prussians, and the Russians, they all see weakness. They all begin to move. Napoleon calls for one more effort. He gathers soldiers. He rides once more. But the world has changed. In 1814, the Allies invade France. Battle by battle, the borders shrink. City by city, the roads close in. Napoleon fights with all the brilliance of his youth, but his strength is not enough. He cannot hold them all back. Paris falls. The people weep. The skies are gray. And so, Napoleon abdicates. He gives up the throne. But they do not punish him. Instead, they send him away to a tiny island called Elba, just off the coast of Italy. He becomes ruler of this little island, small and quiet. He plants gardens. He walks among olive trees. He writes letters. He watches the sea. Some say he was peaceful there. Others say he was restless. But the world thought he was finished. He has escaped Elba. He has landed on the southern shores of France. And he is marching, not with an army, but with only a few hundred men. At first, soldiers are sent to stop him. But when they see him, this small, gray-coated man with a steady gaze, they do not fire. They cheer. It is the emperor. One by one, regiments join him. He is sent far away, not to Elba, but to a lonely island in the South Atlantic, St. Helena, thousands of miles from France. No cities, no armies, just wind and waves and sky. The house they give him is old and damp. He walks in the gardens alone. He watches the sea for hours. The sunsets are soft, golden, and endless. Here, Napoleon writes. He tells his story to those who listen. He speaks of battles and glory, of lost friends, of hopes that faded like fire in the rain. Sometimes, he is visited by children from the island. He gives them candies, tells them stories, and smiles for the first time in weeks. The years pass slowly. His health declines. The strong man who crossed deserts and climbed mountains now lies still, under a heavy blanket. And in 1821, as the waves roll gently outside, Napoleon closes his eyes and sleeps one final time. Long after he is gone, people still whisper his name. Napoleon. Some remember him as a warrior, others, a tyrant, a reformer, a dreamer, but all agree he changed the world. He built roads that still guide cars today. He reformed laws that still shape justice. He inspired art, music, poetry, and fear. He was a child of revolution, a soldier of destiny, a man who reached for something larger than life and almost touched it. In France, his body was returned years later to rest beneath a grand dome in Paris. Visitors walk past his tomb in silence, staring at the name carved in gold, and as they leave, they look up at the sky. And He is sent far away, not to Elba, but to a lonely island in the South Atlantic, St. Helena, thousands of miles from France. No cities, no armies, just wind and waves and sky. The house they give him is old and damp. He walks in the gardens alone. He watches the sea for hours. The sunsets are soft, golden, and endless. Here, Napoleon writes. He tells his story to those who listen. He speaks of battles and glory, of lost friends, of hopes that faded like fire in the rain. Sometimes, he is visited by children from the island. He gives them candies, tells them stories, and smiles for the first time in weeks. The years pass slowly. His health declines. The strong man who crossed deserts and climbed mountains now lies still, under a heavy blanket. And in 1821, as the waves roll gently outside, Napoleon closes his eyes and sleeps one final time. Long after he is gone, people still whisper his name. Napoleon. Some remember him as a warrior, others, a tyrant, a reformer, a dreamer, but all agree he changed the world. He built roads that still guide cars today, he reformed laws that still shape justice. He inspired art, music, poetry, and fear. He was a child of revolution, a soldier of destiny, a man who reached for something larger than life, and almost touched it. In France, his body was returned years later to rest beneath a grand dome in Paris. Visitors walk past his tomb in silence, staring at the name carved in gold, and as they leave, they look up at the sky and pee.